October 7th, I think, will historically be remembered for most people who've been paying attention to what's happened in the last 2 years, as a shift in the level of colonization of people's minds. I often say that October 7th was what galvanized people into kind of questioning their position, especially racialized people. Racialized people, Black, Indigenous, racialized, from marginalized groups. We have so many people from the LGBTQ plus communities who have stood side by side and have been very loud and calling for ceasefire, free Palestine, all of that. And even those communities have seen the limits of their freedom. How free are we really? How much are we allowed to say? If Palestine is that limit, it became that litmus test where it's the Palestine Exception, where you're progressive except for Palestine, or you believe in democracy except for Palestine, you believe in freedom of speech except for Palestine. And of course, it's always positioned as this antagonist to Jewish identity and Jewish safety, which is not the case. But that's how it's positioned, to suppress people's speech. But I do think that was the catalyst, the way that our governments responded to Israel's onslaught and the bombing of hospitals and schools and the mass killing and the flattening of Gaza, and the kind of commentary we were seeing from leaders and people in positions of power. It just opened people's eyes, and they were like, what the hell? These are the same people who claim to be liberals and claim to be progressive. And so that illusion really, I think, was shaken, hence why Kamala Harris lost. And, the Biden administration was so hated and Trump came into power. A lot of that had to do with that illusion of liberalism and democracy and free speech and all of that kind of fading. So I think that it started after then. And we saw a lot of people break free, they broke free from those shackles of colonization, I always say, those mental shackles where we were told that we couldn't say the word genocide. Remember when we couldn't even use the word genocide? And now it's, obviously exactly what it is. But there was a time where if you used the word genocide, you would lose your job.